focus of their deliberations, and they can move past it.
Interesting. So you would rarely use the gruesome photos as a prosecutor, because I would have thought the opposite. Like, you would want people to see them over and over again and just be like disgusted.
Right, but you don't. Disgust gets wears off.
Interesting.
It just does. You know what I mean? We get disgusted by a lot of things in society, and we eventually get used to it and move on.
I guess the more they see the photos, they will become desensitized, you say.
Yeah, that's basic human psychology. We are built to survive. And when you show us something that shocks us, that shock will wear off if we see it over and over and over again. It becomes normalized.
Interesting.
Unfortunately.
There's been a lot of talk about the insanity defense. But something that's come up recently, which I think is really interesting, is competency. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, do you think his attorney is going?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I somewhat agree here with this doctor. What have we become in America? Well, we've become cumbersome to things. If you live in a bad neighborhood and you see death all the time, and you grow cumbersome to it, you learn real fast that you can't thrive on something that happened to somebody yesterday. You got to keep going. So this doctor is right, or this guy is right. We become cumbersome to it. That's why they want, I guess what they're saying is they're sealing this case and the autopsy and all that, or the stuff. But this guy is saying is that, Brian Netton's asking, well, is that why they want this out? Is so people can see the crime scene and what happened. And, maybe, another thing, what's up, Ted? Another thing is why do we have to waste taxpayer money and have Nick Riener reevaluated? We already know his health records and past. He's got problems. The medication shows it. The history of many years of him trying to get help. The drug abuse. We know he's crazier than a cuckoo. You'd have to be to off your own parents. It makes sense to me. So all we're doing is wasting our taxpayer money, sending them through all kinds of doctors again, when his history is already out there. We know he's got problems. Now, competent for court, is anybody? Sane people incompetent for court. The whole thing, everything's corrupt, everything, many years, it's drilled into people's minds. Now, mental illness, you know how many football players and MMA players and race car drivers and everything that have concussions and they don't even know it? They don't even know it. One day they wake up and they act crazy and their family's like, what's wrong with them? And it goes away. And they don't have no troubles with them. Years go by and boom, they have another outburst. That's a concussion, which concussions lead to many things, many other illnesses. So people really don't realize how bad it is. You can't just do what Mr. President Trump's saying, build all these asylums and start locking people up in mental institutions. You can't do that. They did that in London back when they were back in the day in the 50s or whatever it was, 60s. It didn't work. They were taking people that were perfectly sane off of the streets and throwing them in these nut huts saying they were crazy to fill rooms to use as experiments. So it's very, very crazy. Yeah, Ted, we'll see what we could do to try and get you some help out there. Some subs, maybe, or views. And, you know, we'll see. You know, we'll have to see what they say. But why are we wasting our money? Now, I'm out here in the fields. So I know how Indiana is. They're very corrupt. Some of these people we're finding are related to police. Some of them are police. And I think it's all going back now to what government higher ups were saying, FBI and Homeland and everything, that even our own is corrupt, you know. And it very well may be. They're finding police that work at the jails. They're bringing in contraband. And when they get caught, it leads back to what? The jailer, who's a police officer. So it's very, very crazy, if you ask me. So let's listen a little bit more of what we're dealing with here. And this ain't going away in America, folks. I think we better stop worrying about other countries right now and really start focusing. And we are making YouTube the new battleground. We got 80,000 IRS agents out there, or government agents they're saying they want to put in IRS. I would split them. 40,000 goes to IRS. 40,000 is going to be our new military on the internet. All right, let's listen to a little bit more of this.
To try to challenge his competency so that there's not even a trial? I mean, how would that work?
Sure. So there are, and this is really important, they are two completely separate legal proceedings, right? If you, as an attorney, I can tell the court that I'm declaring a doubt as to my client. Once I say those words, I'm declaring a doubt to my client, it means that the criminal proceedings are paused and that there's what's called a 1368 evaluation. That's a section of the penal code. And with let's just call it a normal case as opposed to a high profile case like this, what happens is the case then gets sent to mental health court in Hollywood, where they will appoint one evaluator, a psychiatrist, to determine whether or not the person is competent or not to stand trial. You can have two people appointed. Sometimes the defense and the prosecution will agree on one person. Sometimes each will choose one. If there is a disagreement, let's say one says that he is and the other one says that he's not, then the court can appoint a third evaluator to determine whether or not the person is competent. And so there's either an agreement that the person is competent or not, or that you can actually have a bench trial to determine whether or not a person is competent or not. If it's determined that the defendant is not competent to stand trial, the person is then sent to a place like Patton Mental State Hospital, where he or she will receive treatment, meaning medication, until that person is brought back to competency, right? Once that person is established that they're competent to stand trial, they are brought back to court and the criminal proceedings begin again, right? Competent means that you cannot participate in your defense and you cannot aid in your defense. That means you don't understand what's going on, that you cannot communicate with your lawyer in a rational way or an intelligent way in order to aid in your defense, that you do not understand what is going on and who the judge is, what the prosecutor does, what the defense attorney does, or what's going on around you. That's a very, very high bar, right? And what usually happens if they even get to Patton is that they'll be medicated until the kind of cocktail balances them out and they're able to function, right? You're talking about schizophrenics, and that's usually what you're dealing with, people who are paranoid schizophrenics or bipolar to a degree that they need to be medicated heavily. That's one process. Eventually, what will happen is, with that process, let me just finish, is that they either are competent to stay in trial and they stay in trial, or they stay in patent for the rest of their lives, right? That they're so gone that there's just no coming back. Then that's very different than NGI. An NGI plea, a not guilty by insanity, means that you can be completely competent and normal person, but at the time the crime was committed, you meet the qualifications of insanity, meaning that you did not know the difference between right and wrong. And that's a completely different process. That means that you plead not guilty by reason of insanity to the court. Usually that's done after preliminary hearing, not before. And then once that plea is entered, then both sides appoint psychiatrists, or the prosecution can retain a psychiatrist, and to begin the process of writing evaluations that have to be shared back and forth. And obviously, the advantage that Mr. Riener has, given, we'll just make the assumption that he has the means to do this, is that he can hire multiple experts, which is not cheap at all. And you're talking at least $50,000 per expert, if not more.
Yeah, wow. And if Nick has access, or his family has access to a lot of money, then yeah, they can hire these professionals to say, no, yada, yada, he's crazy and incompetent to even stand trial, and he's pleading insanity, which he might do a little bit of time in a mental health. They might get him straightened out and fixed. Well, we have seen killers plead insanity. They were crazy. They've spent their time in a mental institution, and they were released because, many years down the road, they were fixed. And they were released back into society with no jail time. And they function today among us. But whatever they call that, institutionalized, whatever. They were fixed and released back into the public. And they function perfectly fine now. Of course, some of them are medication, heavily on medication, whatever. And I want to bring that up also to the health world out there and the doctors and the scientists. You could be on meds for a long time and you're going to have to come off of them because you're going to start seeing problems. Kidney, bladder, liver. When you're on meds for a long time, it builds up in your system. And it'll start shutting your body organs down. And that's what they're not telling you, folks, is eventually these people will have to come off of it because the medication itself will kill them. And they don't realize it. And you can OD on doctor's prescription for mental health problems. You could literally OD on it. It'll build up in your system without you knowing. And you're actually, from what I was told in my situation, you're ODing. You got too much of it built up in your system. You got to come off of it for a while. So, everyone thinks, oh, well, they're on mental health pills and they're going to be fine. That's not true. You will be for a while, but eventually you're going to find out that medication is causing other troubles in your life with body organs and things and muscles. And yeah, it works. For how long? I was on it for a long time, and finally I had to come off of it because I was actually having muscle spasms, twitching, all kinds of stuff, which was brought on by the meds I was on. And it just built up. Taking different meds, it finally builds up in your system, and then next thing you know, you got kidney problems, liver, bladder, and other organs. It's just horrible. All right, let's watch a little more of this, Brian. And like I said, folks, if you only knew the truth of what we are dealing with, you call these people professionals. Wow, he's a professional psychiatrist. That professional psychiatrist is also on meds. And what you don't know is just like what we found out is many people that run this country have problems and they themselves are on these medications.
And, you kind of go from there.
So do you think this is something his defense attorney will go after? I mean, what would the motive be to just sort of delay things, or how do you think it'll play out?
Well, I don't know, because look, with an NGI plea, what happens if it goes forward to trial? Then you have two trials, one to determine whether or not the person is guilty or not guilty. If he's found guilty by the jury, then there's a second phase of whether or not he's not guilty by reason of insanity. And then that if he's found not guilty by reason of insanity, then obviously there isn't prison involved. There are other things that Mr. Jackson can do without declaring him either incompetent or NGI, which is to begin with what's called a 730 evaluation, right? And to do a mental health evaluation and have him psyched, seen by psychiatrists and stuff like that. And by the way, he can do all these things without actually making any declarations to the court, right? He can have him. I think it's safe to assume that since he was arrested, I'm sure he's been seen by at least one psychiatrist from the defense team, if not more than one, and that evaluations have started and will be coming forward. But I don't see that being released anytime soon by the defense.
There's already been reports out that he, doesn't remember what happened and is not, in a good mental state right now in custody. I mean, could they try to declare him incompetent, and could that go on for a long time? I mean, could he be incompetent for like 5 or 10 years? And could that be a tactic by the defense to kind of keep him out of, traditional jail and just sort of see what happens?
Patton isn't that great of a place. I mean, Patton, I've been there. I've taken a tour. I mean, it's a place where unless you're, mentally, legally insane, is not a place that you really want to be in. In many ways, it's worse than prison because of the population that you're with. It's very difficult being with people that have to be sometimes forcibly medicated, and that they're in a state that requires constant care and attention.
Hello, Miss Fox. How are you doing this morning? Now, he's got a point there. Some of these institutions are more crazier than prison, because you got people that are supposed to be there helping you, but literally they're raping you at night, giving you a bunch of drugs. Excuse me. You get knocked out from your meds, you're out cold, and they do whatever to you. Yeah, that's true. We're not here to lie to the American people anymore about what even these retards or mental people go through in the United States of America and all over this world. Very bad. You don't have security there. Any Tom, Dick, or Harry can walk in there with a fake uniform. We've seen that before, where they're actually sleeping with these people that have disabilities and impregnating them, or mental illnesses, or completely what these people call retarded. And they're impregnating these people. And we've seen it, the abuse even in elderly homes and everything. It's a very dangerous problem in America. Miss Fox, can you hear me okay? I'm under attack by something again.
So I don't see, and it's hard to get past. I mean, you really can't manipulate 1368, the 1368 process. because it's such a high standard. And it is, like most things involving the law and psychiatry or psychology, it has developed in a way over the last 100 years to catch people that are malingering.
That are faking it.
Right. That's built into all the testing.
You mentioned like the experts and how expensive they are, and how he obviously, it seems like, has a lot of resources, at least based on the defense attorney he was able to hire. Could they?
Well, this doctor's probably right. There are people out there trying to fake it, but are you going to go through the extreme to take another human's life to prove that you're crazy? I mean, look at what kind of world we live in. I'm crazy, but I know if I hurt somebody, I'm going to prison or a mental institution. Right? You teach yourself, only defend yourself when needed. We are America. We don't go out looking to destroy countries, or we don't go out looking for trouble. But if trouble comes knocking on your door or someone breaks in at night, you got to defend yourself, whether you're crazy or not. So, what are they trying to do? Are they just trying to tell people, well, I say we hunker down. That's all we can do right now. Maybe cannabis can help these people. Maybe, maybe CDBs or whatever they call it, or just smoking the doobie might calm these people down. I don't know. We'd have to do research on it. They're saying there's a lot of health benefits in cannabis. And now Trump deregulating it, and it's nothing now. It's a slap on the hand. And now they're using it to help people in mental states and physical states and stuff. So, and it might be easier or better for you than meds or pills or whatever. It's very crazy. Hello, RC99. How you doing? RC says, I have already or elderly relatives paying a fortune in treatment to get it. Well, here's the thing, people. These doctors and nurses and facilities are in it for what? To make money. That's their living. They're paid by big pharma and stuff to push drugs. They're paid to overlook things. They just might not like you, and oops, mark something down on your chart, and you're overlooked. It's a very, very serious problem. I wish this country, the United States, would realize what kind of problem we are really awakening to in America. We're all crazy. They're not going to tell you. Even the people sitting within power behind courts, judges, and crazy. Congress, crazy. Pentagon, crazy. They'll never admit it. It's you that has the problem, not them. Not them. Because they hold a title within a division, they are more powerful than you, even though they're taking mental health pills. Yes, it's true. Some of them have disabilities, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, many of them. Now, I'm not trying to pick on them because I am one of them that have a problem. And my problem stems from where I was raised, how I was raised, accidents that I had. That back in the 70s, doctors said, you're going to be fine. Why? Because they didn't know about concussions, head trauma back then. They knew it caused troubles right away, but if you got past a certain point, you're going to be fine. Well, now they're coming out and saying we didn't know what we knew back then than what what we know now. And we see a lot of football players like that, fighters, boxers. Uh, the fighting world calls it punch happy or whatever. Uh, yeah, it's a serious problem, and not including food can cause mental illness, and we're seeing that in America too. Just the food they're feeding us is literally killing us. I got squirrels all over out there. They were just running around out there like crazy. All right, let's get back to what we were talking about. Debbie said so many could benefit. Yeah. From cannabis, maybe. Probably.
Could they just find the experts who are going to say what they want them to say? If they want to prove that he's incompetent, can you just find people who you're going to pay enough to, come up with that conclusion?
Mr. Brian Etten, you want a question or answer to that question? You got billions or millions of dollars. Yes, you can find doctors, labs, nurses, practitioners that will say whatever you want. We call it perjury. But see, these people never get nothing but a slap on the hand and maybe suspended from their license. They can't practice medicine for 6 months or whatever. Or they can't practice medicine in that state. They just move to another state. So if you got money, yes, you can get as many people as you got money to get in there to say he's incompetent, crazy, and yada, yada, yada. Why? Because that's the country we live in. That's why.
I know that a lot of people think that that's how it works. And for sure, there's lots of hacks out there on both sides. Meaning that there are plenty of prosecutors that use hacks, and there's plenty of defense attorneys that use hacks that will say whatever they want. I don't know Mr. Jackson to operate that way, and I wouldn't ever accuse a fellow attorney of doing something that I think is unethical and unprofessional. But that does happen, and it exists, but it's not as common as the world thinks it is in terms of the legal field. There's obviously people, there's definitely experts.
Whoever this gentleman is on Brian's panel, normally it don't work that way for people that have no money. When you got millions, it's a different song and dance. And we all know that. We all know that. So, like he said, well, usually it don't work that way. And that's right. For us normal people, it don't work that way because we don't have the money to hire all these professionals to come in and say, oh, he's completely crazy or he's competent to stand trial. Money talks, bullshit walks in this country. So for any normal dude and woman or whatever, yes, it don't happen. Why? Because we can't afford to have all these experts come in. Defense, who's going to get, where are you going to get all this money to have all these guys come in? We've seen that in the Delphi case where they refused to spend money on the professionals and they handled it in-house. And look what happened to the Delphi case. And so many more. I rest my case. Many people were involved in Delphi. The faster you people realize that, the safer you folks will be. You wanted to throw Keegan Klein off of the table. We already know what's going on.
That are more pro-defense or more pro-prosecution. But I think that has a lot to do with their worldview more than who's paying them. Does that, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's plenty of psychiatrists and psychologists that have a less touchy-feely kind of, it's everybody's fault but yours attitude about what makes us tick. And there's lots of psychologists that believe that, we are very much just lack free will, if you will, right? And so those experts tend to kind of go to their side of the aisle.
Assuming with all the issues that we know Nick Riener has had, that he's had probably psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists, and he's been in and out of rehab, can they call all of those people as witnesses?
At first, they might look like ordinary glasses, but the moment you wear them, everything.
Or is there like a HIPAA? I mean, I'm just thinking, because if the defense is going to try to bring in new experts, but if you're the prosecution, wouldn't you want to actually hear from the people who have been treating him for the last,
and that's Brian, that's a great point, because the defense experts, if they're qualified, let's assume that they're qualified experts, meaning that they are at the top of their game.
Somebody's coming or lurking and sending evil to me or something. And we got to start looking at this stuff in our country too. Hold on, folks. I got somebody doing something. Oh. Oh, shit.
Right? An attorney like Alan Jackson would have experts that are, at his level. They would want to write any report that they're going to write and eventually maybe even testify to is going to require them having access and knowledge of everything that has happened in the last 20 years of Mr. Reiner's life in terms of addiction and psychological reports. Because if I'm the prosecutor, the first thing I'm going to ask is, wait, you didn't look at this? You didn't look at this? You didn't look at this? How can you say that your opinion is valid if you haven't spent any time going over his psychological reports from the last 20 years and speaking to his previous mental health caregivers?
Interesting. And just lastly, the arraignment that is scheduled for this week, what can we expect? I mean, we didn't see him. He wasn't on camera at the last one. What do you think will happen at this arraignment?
I mean, look, yeah,
All right, folks, I have to take a break for a minute. I think somebody don't want me talking about stuff. I must have somebody pretty dang evil around me. All right, folks. So you make your own conclusions. We're going to watch a little bit more of this. And I'll be in and out here. So let's listen to a little bit more.
I think, like, anytime you call me to talk about this case, I'm going to keep saying in a normal case.
Right.
Right. And right. But in a normal case, an arraignment is the defendant comes out. His name is, it's basically the case is called, People California versus John Smith, case number. John Smith is present in court in custody with his attorney present. Attorney says, enters a plea of not guilty, denies all allegations, waives advisement of rights, and reading the complaint. And a new date has been chosen by both sides before the case is even called. And that's it. Should take 2 minutes at most. But with this one, I expect him to enter pleas. I mean, it's been 3 weeks. I think the court will want to enter a plea, and then kind of begin the process and get going.
When you say enter a plea, could it be an insanity plea at this point?
A not guilty plea. I mean, it's either I expect it to be a not guilty plea. I think it's too soon to enter a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. There's plenty of time to do that. And like I said, that's usually done after the preliminary hearing, not before.
If they're going to try.
I mean, we already pretty much know he's got problems. Right? His past and his health records already show that. So could they right away come out and say he's not guilty on the reason of insanity or whatever? I don't know. No one's going to make any money. And how do they get their money? Court. I got somebody very evil attacking me. We might have to make some change. Hold on a minute here, folks. Let's listen to a little bit more.
Try to say he's incompetent. Is that something that would come up at an arraignment, or is it too early for that?
Right away.
It would.
Yeah. He could declare a doubt right away.
Do you think we'll see that?
I'm not really a cupcake, but I am super baked, thanks to Mood Can.
Mood is third-party tested, so you know it's safe.
And it ships legally and discreetly to your door, so you can say hi to your neighbors without any shame.
Oh, hi, Callie.
Hi, Barb. Everyone.
I mean, I don't know. I doubt it. I would be surprised if that was the case.
Would you expect at the arraignment that they'll say as little as possible, given the whole situation?
Right, that's an issue of style, right? If I don't know if Mr. Jackson is going to want to give a statement to the press afterwards. I think I would. I would want to get my side of the story out there. In terms of what's said on the record in front of court, I would keep.
You know who would be all over this case if he was still alive? Johnny Cochran. They would have had him all over this thing. All right, folks, I need to take a break because it's obvious I'm upsetting somebody. You folks have your own minds. You could choose your own minds, make your own minds up. What do I think? I think this system needs to be fixed. It's broken. We've known it's been broken for a long time. Our healthcare system is broke. The hospitals are broke. Everything is broken. And it's broke so much that it's actually costing us more. And we're seeing more people dying when they didn't have to die. It's broken, the whole thing, justice, everything. And this is what happens when you have a country that allows things in it that other countries refuse to open the door to. You wouldn't get away with half of the stuff we get away with in another country. It just wouldn't happen. And they treat their mental health people a lot better, and their healthcare system is practically free or the best, healthcare money on the dollar, pennies on the dollar. So it all plays a part of it. It all, believe it or not, it all. There's nothing wrong with a country saying it's broken. We're refixing everything. Hunker down, and we'll make sure you still get your checks. IRS is open, and people. I got a squirrel sitting right out here on my porch. Little black one sitting right out here. He's digging for peanuts. Hello, Miss ATS News. So, what are we dealing with? I don't know. A curse? I don't know. This whole country might be cursed. Some people are saying it's this race that's doing it, it's that race. Who knows? Hunker down. That's all we could do. Dig in. And what are we heading for? Who knows? Who knows what they're doing? Conjuring up demons to keep us quiet. I wouldn't doubt it. Magic, sorcery. I would not doubt it. I'm not taking it off of the table, much like this channel didn't take Keegan Kline off of the table. He was a key thing in the ring. And if you look back before the Delphi case, they were already saying we got problems. So we know exactly what's going on. Well, Brian looks like he's been smoking a couple of the ganjas, but that's okay. I'm not going to judge him for that. In order probably to keep your sanity, I would say probably smoke a doobie and munch down on something, watch some TV or something. And we're not seeing these people that are smoking these doobies going out, not unless they're smoking 4 ounces a day, like some of these guys. Yeah, I can see if you're smoking 4 ounces of cannabis, how you would just be in a daze. Yeah. And do stupid stuff. Yeah, probably. But most people probably would be at home after smoking 4 ounces in one day and sleeping and vegetating. I know I would have been. Good God. Who the heck smokes 4 ounces a day? These rich people. That's who. It's crazy. All right, let's watch a little bit more of this. What are we at? We're going to try and make it to an hour.
It down to the bare minimum, because it's just arraignments are a bare minimum type of hearing. They're not much is supposed to happen other than just to enter a plea of not guilty, which is almost automatic, and then just move on with the case and pick dates and get going. But I think that giving some kind of statement would be in his client's best interest, just to get a counter narrative going, right? Because the narrative right now is there's a great director who we all have memories of him just through his movies. I remember the first time I saw When Harry Met Sally, and we all have lines memorized from his movies. He is part of our imagination and our creative mind. That is quite an accomplishment, right, to say the least. So I
agree with this guy. Mr. Riener.
When you're accused of killing not just your mother and father, but accused of killing a man who was universally loved in this country, I think there has to be something out there to begin a counter story to it, because because one of the concerns or one of the issues is the counter of, like, this was a tragedy that he regrets for the rest of his life. He is a victim of his addiction and his mental health problems. There is a counter to that, which is it's a rich kid from Brentwood who took and took and took until he took a life, took 2 lives.
Well, this guy on panel is also correct. You know, he's also correct on that. This is a very dangerous situation. Very dangerous. You know, and you have to remember, we live in a country that these people are allowed to do this stuff because they got tons of money. Although a lot of people say they're crazier than coon dogs. You know, they're just going at their own search. They're just going and going and going. Yeah, but the country we live in, the society that is among us, created all this mess. I'm dumb, but I ain't that dumb to find out this is just nuts, more crazier than me. I mean, I could be pretty crazy on film on this channel. It's a movie channel. But these people, this is real life stuff. And even in our real lives, it's gone crazy. Now, I agree with what he's saying. Mr. Riener has been in our front rooms for many years. He's like part of the family. So many of these movie stars, rock stars, so many famous people are like, when they get around us, we're just so in shock. And oh my God, it's like a family member, right? So how could this happen? It's very traumatic. Man, well, yeah. Yeah, that's why a lot of us are, how could this have happened? Oh, we feel horrible. You know, but it's the world we live in. You know, we've been watching these people night after night after night after night after night after night on TV, watching all these movies, yada, 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 music every single day. It's almost like it's woven within our fabrics, and they're like family. You know, someone comes knocking on your door. My God, it's Led Zeppelin. Come on in, guy. You know, get the food out, get the drinks. Come on in. Oh, yeah. It's Aerosmith, or it's Mel Gibson from, you know, come on in. Why? Because we feel like they're just part of us. We've been watching them for so dang long. You going to kill your own family? No. So are you going to kill these people? No. They're like family. You got to live with them. You know, you can't kill them. What do you got to do? You got to live with them. It's family. You don't do that to family. We were raised that way. Now look at families killing family. It's crazy. I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. All right, we're almost done with this, folks. I'm trying to get an hour out of this. Bear with me. I'm in pain.
Right. And so I think that it is, I think it's a good strategy to say something. I mean, I think, we've all seen kind of like the scrum that is at CCB, that's the courthouse where this is happening, in terms of where everybody sees. And I don't know the optics for it. Which would it be best to do it at a press conference and somewhere that's organized? Because, one of the advantages the prosecution has is when they do their press conference, it's in a stage and everyone gets to sit down and there's good lighting, as opposed to walking in as an attorney with your briefcase and you're surrounded by reporters. But there should be some way to communicate a defense to the public that wants to hear a defense, and kind of go from there.
All right, so I appreciate Ambrosio for talking with me. As always, appreciate you guys for watching. I will have the latest from Los Angeles and keep you posted on everything that happens with the hearing. All right, talk to you guys later.
Well, Mr. Brian Etten, that was a great video. Great channel. I watch it. I'm also a sub. But we can't take our eyes off of the ball. I want to give a shout out to the Chicago Bears. Even though you lost by 3 points the other day, we still love you. Don't give up. This year, there's wild cards, yada, yada, yada. There's still a chance to make it to the playoff. You know, but never give up. And if we are out of it, well, there's next year. We got one heck of a team. A little bit tweaking here and there, and you got a Super Bowl team. So we love you, Chicago. Always have. Born and raised in Chicago. So I want to thank everyone for showing up. Anyone got anything to say? Miss RC says, as a musician or mute, you know how great Spinal Tap was. No, if them guys came knocking on my door, I'd say, come on in, you bloody blokes. Right? What are you drinking? Water, fruit juice, soda, or the hard stuff? You know, I don't drink. I quit drinking so many years ago. I can't remember how long it's been. I'd have to run out and get something for the blokes. What are we going to do with Spinal Tap? Right? Spinal Tap had potential to become 4, 5, 6 movies. Keep that in mind, folks. Keep that in mind. Now what? Is it the end of Spinal Tap after this movie? I don't know. After this new release comes out, I don't know. We hope not. I found it hilarious. And a lot of people don't get the sense of humor in Spinal Tap. They don't. People have become so, I don't know, they just don't realize old time sense of humor. I don't know. Does anyone else have anything to say before we end this video? I have no idea what attacked me. I'm hoping I just got to go to the bathroom and take a poop. I'm hoping. And it ain't some demonic thing going on. It's probably leaning towards demonic or something. I don't know. But then again, I'm crazy. Right? For me, just making this video, I have already been labeled within our country and society. Possibly could be killed. Yeah. People, and me just saying that, people are saying, oh, see, he's crazy. Who are they to even judge us when they themselves have problems within their own families? Let me see. Yo, I'm eating out here. Jeez. Yeah, I don't know where you at. I have no idea. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, if you ask me. But it's our country. Right? Before, we used to be able to say what we wanted without people throwing fists or trying to hire hitmen to kill us. Now in the United States, you say something someone don't like, and they're all up your panties. They're up your butthole like a enema. You know, casting spells and all kinds of stuff on you. Yeah, that's real. I'll always believe it's real. You can call me crazy. That's our problem. We haven't taken the war to this physically. But then again, right there, they're going to say I'm crazy. Right? Look at it. He's saying we should be fighting this. And, I don't know. I'm just saying, are we battling the wrong things? I don't know. I'm scared for my life. I'm scared for America's life. I'm scared for all of us. We might wake up tomorrow and there'll be 50 new mental institutions, and next thing you know, just because they don't like you or you're too close to the truth, you're thrown in a nut hut. Now, what have I experienced in Indiana? Well, the doctors don't agree with the police, and the police don't agree with the doctors. I've seen people taken down to be reevaluated. The doctors say, you got a problem, but you ain't crazy or violent, and you don't belong here. And I wish these police would just, every time they can't deal with somebody, they bring someone down to us. Right? These people got problems, but they ain't crazy or hurting people, and they don't belong here. So they're even the system is battling itself. That's pretty crazy. I don't know. I hope I make it. I hope we all make it. All glory goes to God. And if you don't believe in God, all glory goes to something good other than evil. We need to change our health care. We need more surgeons. We need more doctors. We need more people. Everything's been infected, compromised. It's horrible. Just horrible. Horrible. All right, we are coming up on 1 hour. I want to thank everybody for watching. You've been watching the Johnny Kramer Music Movie Channel, where we do all kinds of stuff here. Give our opinions on crime, DIYs, music, movie. We do it all. This whole channel's a movie. God save us all. I do want to thank the mods for showing up. This ATS News says these people look possessed on panel. Maybe they are. We don't know. We have no idea. We don't know. Hold on. I'm going to show you. I got some black squirrels running around. I'm sorry. All right, that squirrel took off up a tree. Now I can't hear myself. I must unplug my headphones. All right, now I can hear myself. Hey, we all have crazy nut jobs, evil people, even within some of our own families. You have to deal with it or whatever. You know, I agree. No, it's crazy. They're even within our own families or whatever, and society. All right, we are coming up on an hour. We're not supposed to feed them anymore, I don't think, or the birds or whatever, Debbie. We'll see. I don't know. I might feed them, but no, the squirrels. I know they made us take down the bird feeders. Not allowed or something. Whoever controls this complex. I don't know. Must have it out for some of us or something. I don't know. You know what I say? If anything happens to me, investigate city, state. You always start with family. That's just how it is. And also start with the police station. because this corruption is within the police departments. Did you see that video yesterday we watched on channel where they were using the police vehicles and ambulances and stuff to transport shit? It's crazy. Monsters, yeah, Debbie, monsters. I don't know, Debbie. It's their rules. I got to obey by them or I'd be out on the street. Well, I'll be out on the street. They already threatened, we'll do this, we'll do that. You're not allowed to have that. You're not allowed to have this. You're not allowed to do this. Just crazy stuff. Oh, look at them squirrels. They are all over. Look, there he goes. Look at how fast that little booger was. He come out of the tree line over there and boot scoot boogie over to this other tree behind that building there. All right, we are done with this video, folks. We'll be back with more later. I'm going to relax. I just got hit by something, or I don't know. Hopefully I just got to take a dump. Excuse my language, but well, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. All right, you guys have a great night. God bless. I want to thank everyone for stopping in. Teddy, RC, Debbie, ATS News, and everybody. God bless everyone. All glory goes to God. Save us all in Jesus' name. Heal us. And we'll be back.